And Senator Monday Okpebholo assumed office as governor of Edo State. A year, he says, has been defined by possibilities, people-centered governance and performance. The administration points to renewed security efforts, over 10,000 direct and indirect jobs created, road rehabilitation across the 3 senatorial districts, and a deliberate push to restore confidence in public institutions. But as critics say, the past 12 months have been more about politics than policy. That despite the shine agenda, Edo people are still waiting to see the spark that truly lights up the state's development path. Now, one major flashpoint has been the Museum of West African Art, MOA. It's a big controversy. We're hearing about a policy reversal that has raised questions about due process, foreign relations, and cultural heritage. Joining me tonight to discuss all of this and what the next phase of the Shine Agenda really means for Edo people is Okpebholo Okwemo, who's special advisor on media to Governor Monday Okpebholo. Buge, thank you for joining us again on the program.
Thank you, Nifemi. Always my delight.
Great. I'd like us to begin with the MOA controversy. And I've heard your narrative about the efforts of previous administration in collaboration with the palace to get some of the stolen artifacts back, how the plan was it to be within the Benin Royal Museum before the last administration found its way to make it MOA. But there are two conflicted narratives here. Governor Okpebholo signed revocation notice of MOA's land title. That's one narrative. On the other hand, we're hearing the German ambassador's public statement saying nothing like that has happened and nothing has been revoked. Which of this is accurate?
Okay, so the land that was given to MOA was the land that housed the Central Hospital. The Central Hospital is a second-tier health facility that's been around for over 100 years. It was a health facility that served the majority of the average Edo indigenous and Edo resident. The last administration brought that property down and relocated the services to different other health facilities, majorly the Stella Obasanjo Hospital, which was not completed. It was just about 50% completed when they commissioned it. So that hospital sits on about 7 hectares of land. MOA was given about 4 hectares. Now, on that same space, the government of Comrade Adams Oshiomhole had built another hospital called the Edo Specialist Hospital, a high-end, state-of-the-art, health facility. In the design of that hospital, provisions were made for expansion to accommodate doctors' quarters, to accommodate a back gate, to accommodate a mortuary, to accommodate an emergency unit, several other ancillary parts to that hospital. Now, the land that was given to MOA, every land, apart from where the Central Hospital was located, almost every land, even around the Central Hospital, was added to what was given to MOA. It's so bad that the specialist hospital today needs to expand its septic tank, what some people refer to as the sockaway. There's even no space to expand the septic tank. So what Governor Monday Okpebholo has said is, he has said to the proprietors of MOA that you can't take all of this land. I mean, we cannot, because of private profit, deny Edo indigenes of what they should be getting in terms of healthcare and access to quality healthcare. So the governor has told them that where they are presently occupied is just about 50% of the mass of land that was given to them. So the governor has said where you are presently is what is going to be given to you. The specialist hospital needs land to expand. The mortuary has to be provided. The wards have to be increased. There has to be an emergency center, and that land is required, which was the original plan for that land. So what the governor has done is the certificate they have presently, the certificate of occupancy they have presently that covers that 7 hectares has been revoked for a new one to be issued that covers where they are presently.
Oh, I get it.
The about, I think about 3 or so hectares that they have now. So it's not a withdrawal to stop MOA from operating. It's a withdrawal to give a new one that covers the new land that they have.
So it sounds like just 50% has been taken away. But there's also another thing the Oba is saying, because he specifically mentioned openly asking Mr. Governor to stop MOA, mentioned that he was in support of the protest that greeted the attempt to kickstart it, and that it should be Benin Royal Museum. I mean, is the governor turning between supporting the palace and also upholding foreign investment?
It's not about supporting anybody. It's about doing the right thing. I mean, the MOA situation has a lot of implications, social cultural implications, implications for the state, implications for the peace of the state. So the state government is interested in ensuring that what is right is done and every party is satisfied with whatever is available. To give a brief background, the MOA, this whole museum conversation is based on the artifacts, the Benin artifacts that were looted in 1897 during the British invasion that were taken to several European countries. Over the years, several monarchs have pushed for the return of those artifacts. I mean, beginning with Oba Akezo of blessed memory, who passed on that mandate to his son, Obaire Idiawa, who did the same to the present monarch, Obaire Ndigigam, the second, Obaire the second. And that conversation had been ongoing. Now, the foreign governments, as part of the conditions, after agreeing to return those artifacts, as part of the conditions they gave was that, I mean, the reason we're even talking about artifacts is because they've been preserved for so long. So they said there has to be somewhere where these artifacts can be preserved for future generations to also see them. For the palace, we call these things artifacts. So the palace, these are personal, spiritual, and traditional materials that were, I mean, criminally taken away several years ago. So these things are key to Benin worship, to Benin tradition. And then the conversation started about building a museum, and the foreign government promised to support, in ensuring that that museum was built. The Edo State government, under the leadership of the former Governor Godwin Obaseki, promised publicly that they were going to support in building the Benin Royal Museum that was going to house the Benin artifacts. But somewhere along the line, I mean, the Oba gave very clear details of what happened when he came to Government House, I think, last week. Somewhere along the line, the story changed. A new arrangement was designed without the input of the palace. Private investors were brought in. A certain contraption called the Legacy Restoration Trust was set up. The palace was not involved. The Oba and the palace were not officially involved. And somehow that gave birth to MOA. So the Oba's insistence is that the donors who donated to this, it's apparent from the conversations between the state and the ambassadors that have come, it is apparent that they are not even aware that the MOA situation as it is, has all of these challenges. The Oba is insisting now that the funding for that project was with the intention of setting up a Benin Royal Museum where those artifacts will be kept. And he believes that that should be done. Over $900 million was donated by the German government. In the words of the ambassador, several other donations were taken. The state government put in about 3.5 billion into that project and gave prime property worth over 11 billion to that project.
I hear you,
the
Boogie.
state does not have a percentage.
Indeed.
In it. Yes.
You know that some say
responsibility is to try and.
I hear you clearly.
Yeah, go ahead.
But some have said that this back and forth risks damaging those global cultural partnerships and investor confidence. Precisely, I want to know how government is managing this diplomatic fallout, because we've seen a meeting between the state government and the German ambassador. What is the way forward? And how do you foresee that the palace will now work with MOA, or are we expected to see the name change to Benin Royal Museum? Is there a clear-cut path moving forward from here?
We can't see at the moment. The governor of Edo State, Senator Monday Okpebholo, has forwarded the details of this situation based on government records to the House of Assembly to investigate on behalf of the people and come up with the details of whatever arrangements were done. Who owns MOA? Who are the proprietors of MOA? How much was received? What was the purpose of the money that was received? Where did the conversation start from? All of that had to be established. The governor on his side, also set up a sort of internal committee made up of leaders in the state to also look at the situation on behalf of the government. So until the investigation reveals, those details, for example, what are the terms of engagement between MOA and the donors, and all of that, until that comes out, then the governor will be in a position to take, a concrete decision. But the governor's objective is to ensure that the right thing is done. All stakeholders must be protected. That was why when the ambassadors came, the governor took time to meet with them, give them a background of what was going on, took them to see the Oba, and the Oba also expressed his opinion on those issues. So with interactions, with conversations, I'm sure Governor Okpebholo will be able to arrive at a solution that satisfies both the donors, the international partners, the palace, and everything. As long as everything, what was done right was done rightly. Anything
We
that wasn't done rightly definitely will not be accommodated.
we are now seeing what appears a very cordial relationship between the Oba of Benin, um, especially compared to the friction in the past administration between the Oba of Benin and Governor Okpebholo. There are conversations as to how strategic this alignment is for governance and social cohesion in Edo. Well, you heard the Oba, because I listened to that speech for about 45 minutes. It was mixed with gratitude, with excitement. He even sang and, said a lot of, he really poured out his heart. But you heard him also refer to the former governor as evil governor. Many Edo people feel this administration is still in transition mode, undoing or reviewing Obaseki's policies rather than unveiling a bold new direction. Is Governor Okpebholo governing in reaction to his predecessor or in pursuit of a distinct vision? How important is it for him to move on from the shadows of Obaseki and own his own?
Governor Okpebholo is not in the shadows. Is not in the shadows of Obaseki. Governor Okpebholo as a governor and the APC as a party is a total clear departure from the PDP and Governor Obaseki. So there's no, you don't mix light and day. It doesn't work. So there's a total. That was a government that was very capitalist. That was a government that was very combative. That was a government that was socialist. That was not socialist, capitalist. That was a government that was focused on profits. That was a government that wasn't connected to the people. Governor Okpebholo is different. Governor Okpebholo is welfare driven. Governor Okpebholo is grassroots. Governor Okpebholo is focused on, providing the best solutions for the larger number of people. That's why his strategies are different. That's why his interventions are different and they are unique. So there's no relationship between this government and the past government. It's just that sometimes when they try to pontificate and they try to, make us believe that Governor Obaseki was the best thing since fried rice, we need to remind them and we need to let the people know that, the lies have come down and all of that. So there's no shadow. Governor Okpebholo is focused
I hear you
on what he seeks to achieve. He's focused on the things he wants to do. Concerning the palace relationship, the Edo people are very, very, very almost sentimental about the monarchy. I dare say there are very few monarchies in the world that hold the kind of effect that they have on the people and how so intertwined with the people's lives that the palace is. Any wise governor should know that that is an institution you do not work at cross purposes with. The Oba is our father. He's on the throne for the benefit of everybody. And any governor who shares that same ideology or shares that same vision will naturally work in tandem with the palace. So the past administration did a lot of damage to the relationship between the executive and the traditional institution. And Governor Okpebholo, who's come to do the right thing, is trying to remedy all of that. So that's why you see that healthy relationship. The Oba is our father. If he described Governor Obaseki in those words, he's our dad and he can talk about any of his children, as he decides to talk about. So
I hear
Governor
you.
Okpebholo is just, he shares the same ideology with the Oba, that development comes. And that's why you see the Oba praise him so much and give him so much, accolades, because he sees the things he's doing and sees that
All
he's
right.
genuinely about developing Edo State for the good of the people.
I raised that concern because Edo has had a history of political friction between successive administrations. You see what's happening in Ekiti, where the governor is saying, I'm not going to carry the cross of the fights with these previous leaders. I'm just going to move on and do what I need to do. There are concerns about how Governor Okpebholo intends to manage this transition and continuity of projects, for instance, from the Obaseki era, and what's being done to ensure that his government doesn't repeat the cycle of political rivalry at the expense of development, because that's really what we've seen play out in previous years. But let's take a short break, Buki, and when we come back, we'll talk more about his 1 year in office. Stay with us, everyone. Special advisor on media to Governor Okpebholo in Edo State, Osiobogi Okweme. Thank you for staying the course on the program. We've heard a lot about what your governor has done in the past year. Opinions are sharply divided, especially when you speak with the APC and you people in government. You make it sound like Okpebholo is the best thing that has happened since the invention of, did you use fried rice the other time? So let me say jollof rice. But
Yeah.
what do you...
I use jollof, use something else.
Oh, okay, I'll use something else. But what do you consider, and there are a lot of them, but I want you to just highlight what you consider is single most transformative achievement in 1 year, something that directly changed lives in Edo.
It's difficult to pinpoint one thing because there are so many. There are so many. I mean, his intervention has touched the lives of Edo people across board. So it's difficult to really pinpoint one. You say the opinions are sharply divergent. They are not. It depends on the audience you are listening to. If you go on the streets of Edo State, I mean, the joy is palatable. I mean, it's palpable. Everybody's excited. Everybody's happy. And based on that, if I try to answer your question, for me, I'll say the biggest intervention that the governor probably has done is the style of leadership that he has brought. Very focused, very practical. We had a government in the past that was very technocratic, that was very capitalist, that was very profit driven. It wasn't so much of a welfare driven government. I mean, if you ask the people who promotes that government, what were the interventions your government put in place that touched the lives of the people directly? They can't say that. So Governor Okpebholo, being a very grassroots politician, came into office with the primary, with the key aim of ensuring that the policies and the interventions and the projects that he sets up are the ones that touch people directly. And you can see it across different sectors. During the campaigns, one of the criticisms that his detractors try to push was that he doesn't talk. It was largely because, apart from the fact that he's naturally a very simple, quiet, humble person, he did more of listening. The last administration took a top to bottom approach where the government tells the people what they want. This is what we will do for you. This is what we will do for you. But the question is, what you want to do for me, is that what I really need? He is taking more of a bottom-up approach, engaging the people. So during campaigns across the 192 words, he was listening more than he was speaking. What are the issues? What's your biggest challenge here? What's the biggest problem that you have? And all of those things, he aggregated all of those concerns and he made promises where he needed to make promises. That when I get in, I'll do this, I'll fix this problem for you. And that is why he has been able to achieve as much as he has been able to achieve in the last 1 year. I can tell you that basically his interventions in the past 1 year have been basically keeping to the promises that he made. So where he went to and they said, our problem here is this road. For years we have suffered this, the bad state of this road. It makes it difficult for us to access the farms. It makes it difficult we make our products. So he works on that. Oh, the school we have here, no fence, no furniture, nothing. He attends to that. So in the last 1 year, it's been a 1 year of keeping of promises.
All right.
So largely, if I want to answer your question, it's been that different style of governance, a governance that is more grassroots and people oriented.
I hear you, Boogie. Let us talk about roads for a minute. I don't know if you've seen that viral video on X of the governor's convoys talking about road somewhere in Edo State. I know that you've spoken about, we've heard the governor himself talked about the road interventions. I read this issue with the secretary to the state government last night, and he mentioned that the governor couldn't have fixed all the roads within a year. It sounds logical, but it also doesn't answer the question of many, Edo residents who have had challenges with flooding, with bad roads, and who need that urgent intervention. Residents of Edo Central and Edo North acknowledge some road interventions, but there are complaints that major projects are still concentrated around Benin City. How is this administration ensuring equitable development across all senatorial?
Well, you see, that's why I said sometimes these conversations are more about perception. Some people promote the narrative that the governor has concentrated more on his senatorial district, which is Edo Central. Now you are saying, some say, oh, it has been concentrated more in Benin City. The governor's distribution of projects have been on a needs basis. Like I told you, he listened to a lot of needs of the communities when he was campaigning, and he has gone about providing those needs. So what has largely driven, his decision on interventions and projects have been where the need is greatest. The roads that have been constructed have been where there is a necessity for those roads to be, the projects that have been cited. So it's more of a needs basis. But addressing the issue you have said specifically, if you look at the distribution, for example, roads, Edo South has about 52% of ongoing projects. Over 255 kilometers of road projects are at various stages of completion. 60 have been completed, and are already in use. Remedial work, fresh constructions across different phases of construction. Like I said, about 52% are in Edo South. If you look at the schools that have been renovated, it's almost equally shared, about 32% or thereabouts amongst the senatorial district. So that narrative, which is different from what we usually hear, that, oh, he's focusing so much on his side, you are now saying Edo South, but it just shows that there's really no substance to that idea that this is developmental agenda, which is the shine agenda, which also gives a framework of how the government is going to operate and the areas it's going to intervene.
You know,
But in terms of distribution of
yes,
projects, I think it's been balanced.
We had him announce about 10,000 direct and indirect jobs created. Is it possible to break down in which sectors, through what programs specifically, and how many of these are sustainable beyond the first year?
By sector, but I'll tell you some of these initiatives so at least you are able to also process those figures. One of the governor's major areas of intervention so far has been agriculture. To show you how much impact the governor seeks to make and is making already, the budget of agriculture for the last cycle was raised from about 5.8 billion in the last administration to about over 70 billion in this administration, and that's because of the governor's very major plans for agriculture. Now, 3,000 hectares of land have been cleared across the 3 senatorial districts, 1,000 hectares in each of the senatorial districts, and the governor is providing all of the materials that are going to be necessary for cultivating those lands. The government is providing high yield seedlings, providing equipment, providing storage facilities, providing irrigation systems, providing fertilizers, everything. Now the government is working with farmers, clusters of farmers. So a cluster of farmers come together. The government gives each cluster 5 hectares to cultivate. And when the profit comes out, all they do is they provide the labor to do the cultivation. Every other thing, tractors, fertilizers, seed, everything is provided by the government. Now, when the yield from 5 hectares come out, the farmers and the cluster of farmers take the profits from 1 hectare, while the government takes profit, takes the income from 4 hectares. So that has engaged a massive number of our farmers across the 3 territorial districts. In education the last administration, which was heavily populated by consultants. I mean, the whole gamut of the civil service was being run by consultants. I mean, career civil servants were basically left redundant. Almost every ministry was being run by consultants. So in education, which was one of those ministries that was heavily impacted by the work of consultants, about 5,000 teachers were hired on ad hoc basis, and they were not in the civil service, they were not being paid proper wages. The governor has absorbed those 5,000 teachers into the civil service. So when you look at several initiatives like that across construction, across investments, across education, across the primary healthcare centers and other health related,
I hear you, Boogie.
You see this massive.
I'm afraid we have completely run out of time. And if I allow you, you'll keep talking, you won't stop. Okpebholo Okemo is special advisor on media to Governor Monday Okpebholo. 1 year gone, 3 to go. We're counting on the promises and keeping close tabs on how he implements the things he promised the Edo people. Thank you for talking to us on Beyond the Head. And that's our show today, everyone.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for coming as well. That's our show today. Remember, you can watch it again at midnight and 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. See you again soon.